Hello, good afternoon. So, nandito na ulit tayo sa ating yearly uh, information para dun sa mga pagpo-file natin ng ating income tax return. Siyempre, bago natin since ang topic nga natin ngayon nagpo-focus dun sa mga purely compensation income earner at saka mixed income earner. So, let me discuss to you first yung topic ko dun sa compensation income earner. Kung ano ba yung mga covered ng compensation na subject sa tax at saka yung mga exempted. Hayaan yung i-share ko sa inyo yung aking presentation. So, ayan, bilang isang uh, employee, no, ang kinikita lang natin is yung ating yung sweldo, no? Which is yung ang tawag natin dito yung salary, yung ating compensation, ano. So, ang wherein ito kinakaltasan nga ng tax, no? Bago pa man na ma-receive natin yung ating salary, kinakaltasan na ng withholding tax. Ang basis nga natin dito is yung Revenue Regulation 2-98 and then yung 10-2018 and 10-2008 and ang pinaka-latest is yung 11-2018. Kung mapapansin nyo, parang every 10 years, meron tayong bagong uh, regulation pagdating sa income tax, no, on compensation. So ano ba yung compensation or wages? Ito nga yung ating salary na nare-receive ng isang employee. It means all remuneration for services performed by an employee for his employer under an employee-employer relationship unless exempted by the NIRC and pertinent laws. So ibig sabihin kailangan merong employer-employee relationship para matawag siya na compensation. There are kinds of compensation. Yung tinatawag natin na regular compensation, which includes basic salary, fixed allowances for representation, transportation, and others paid to an employee. So ito yung regular natin na nare-receive. At meron din tayong tinatawag na supplementary compensation, which ito yung mga commissions, overtime pay, fees including director's fees. Itong director fees, pag ang nagbibigay nito employer din, ito ay subject sa compensation, withholding tax on compensation. Pero kung ang magbibigay nito ibang company, let's say hindi yung employer mo, nasa subject ito naman sa expanded withholding tax. And then yung profit sharing, monetization of leave credits, sick leave, fringe benefit received by rank and file employee, hazard pay, taxable 13th month pay. Itong taxable 13th month pay, ito yung in excess of 90,000 threshold na 13th month pay and other benefits. And other remuneration received from an employee-employer relationship. Siyempre, kung merong taxable, meron ding exempt. So, ano naman yung mga exempt sa withholding tax on compensation? Remuneration received as an incident of employment under RA 7641, those with approved reasonable private retirement plan, Social Security Act of 1954 as amended, the GSIS Act of 1937 as amended. Ito yung mga retirement benefit na nare-receive ng isang employee na nag-retire na. Covered siya ng under RA 7641 at saka yung meron mga private retirement plan benefit na approved ng BIR. Remuneration paid for agricultural labor, remuneration for domestic services na kinikita ng ating mga kasambahay, remuneration for casual labor not in the course of an ordinary course of business. Next, compensation for services by a citizen or resident of the Philippines for a foreign government or international organization. Damages, life insurance proceeds, amounts received by the insured as a return of pay of premium, compensation for injuries or sickness, yan, income exempt under treaty, 13th month pay and other benefits. Ito nga yung 90,000 na 13th month pay and other benefits. And then the GSIS, SSS, Medicare, and other contributions, employees share only. Compensation income of minimum wage earners who work in the private sector and being paid by the statutory minimum wage as fixed by the Regional Tripartite Wage and Productivity Board, National Wages Productivity Commission, applicable to the place of where he or she is assigned. Pag sinabi natin where or he or she is assigned, ito yung mga minimum wage earner na halimbawa ay ikaw ay naka-assign dito sa Metro Manila, no, na ang rate dito sa Metro Manila ay 610 sa ngayon, no. Pero kung ma-assign ka sa ibang region, sa Metro Manila, yung 610 na rate is non-taxable siya, exempt siya, no? Kasi yun yung rate, minimum wage rate. Pero kung ikaw ay ma-assign sa ibang region, for example, this region 4, wherein mas mababa yung minimum wage rate doon, so pagdating sa region na yon at hindi naman nagbago yung rate mo, ang rate mo ay sa rate pa rin ng Metro Manila, magiging taxable ka na. Kasi mas mababa yung rate doon. Compensation income of employees in the public sector with compensation income not more than statutory minimum wage in the non-agricultural sector as fixed by the RTWPB and the NWPC applicable to the place where he or she is assigned. So applicable din ito doon sa mga government employee. Yung rate ngayon na 610 that is equivalent to salary grade 6, step 8 pagdating sa government, no? The minimis benefits enumerated under Revenue Regulations 5-2011 as amended by RR 8-2012 and RR 11-2018. Fringe benefit given to employees other than rank and file. Personnel Economic Relief Allowance, PERA, given to government employees. Representation and Transportation Allowance granted to public officers and employees under the General Appropriations Act. Compensation during the year not exceeding 250,000 pesos. So ito na yung na-exempt na yung 250,000 pesos. Ito'y na-introduce nung sa train law. Before kasi, no, meron tayong tinatawag na yung personal and additional exemption, di ba? Yung personal exemption natin is 50,000. Mapa-married ka or single, 50,000 yung personal exemption mo. Pero allowed noon yung additional exemption na hanggang 4 qualified dependent. Tapos may every qualified dependent, merong additional na 25,000. Kung i-maximize mo yon, yung personal exemption mo, plus yung 4 na dependent mo, that is equivalent to 150,000 exemption. So ngayon, mapa-single or mapa-married ka, exempted yung first 250,000 na income. So tumaas siya compared dun sa 150,000. Next, minimum wage earner refers to a worker in the private sector who is paid with statutory minimum wage rates or to an employee in the public sector with compensation income not more than the statutory minimum wage rates in the non-agricultural sector where the worker employee is assigned. So, yung isang minimum wage earner, kapag ito yung kinikita niya, exempt ito sa income tax as well as sa withholding tax. Yung kanyang salary, tapos yung 13th month pay and other benefits na hindi lalagpas sa 90,000, holiday pay, overtime pay, night shift differential pay, and hazard pay earned by MWE. So, ibig sabihin, pag yan lang yung kinikita, yan lang ang kinita ng isang minimum wage earner, lahat kahit magkano pa abutin yan, kahit yan ay lumagpas sa 250,000 na threshold, dahil siya ay minimum wage earner, exempted pa rin yung kanyang kinita. Yan. Provided that an employee who earns additional compensation such as commissions, honoraria, fringe benefits, benefits in excess of the allowable statutory amount of 90,000 pesos, taxable allowances, and other taxable income other than statutory minimum wage, holiday pay, overtime pay, hazard pay, night shift differential pay is taxable subject to 250,000 threshold. So ganito yan, ano? Meron kasi mga employer na nagbibigay ng let's say commissions doon sa kanilang mga employee lalo na yung involved sa sa sales, no? Kung ikaw ay isang minimum wage earner, sabi ko nga kung kinikita mo lang ay yung iyong sweldo, holiday pay, overtime pay, hazard pay, night shift differential pay, kahit magkano abutin yan, no? Yan ay exempt sa tax, no? Kasi ikaw ay minimum wage earner. Pero kung meron kang commission, let's say, meron kang commission doon sa sales mo, kung yan ay commission mo ay hindi aabot doon sa 250,000 na threshold, wala pa rin tax yun. Although taxable siya, pero kung hindi pa siya aabot doon sa 250,000 na threshold, wala pa rin siyang tax. Unless lumagpas siya doon sa 250,000. No? Let's say 300 yung iyong commission. So yung 50,000, yun ang makukumputan ng tax. Yun ang may tax, yung excess sa 250,000. Okay. Next, de minimis benefit not subject to withholding tax. First is the monetized unused vacation leave credits of private employees not exceeding 10 days during the year. So kung meron nito yung isang employee ng private company, nag-monetize siya ng leave credits niya na let's say 15 days, no? Yung 10 days lang ang pwedeng pumasok dito sa de minimis benefits. Yung 10 days lang ang hindi subject sa sa tax. Letter B, monetized value of vacation and sick leave credits paid to government officials and employees. Medical cash allowance to dependents of employees not exceeding 1,500 pesos per employee per semester or 250 pesos per month. Rice subsidy of 2,000 pesos or one sack of rice. Yan, 2,000 sa rice subsidy, no? Uniform and clothing allowance not exceeding 6,000 pesos per annum. Actual medical assistance, medical allowance to cover medical and healthcare needs. Annual medical executive check-up, maternity assistance, and routine consultations not exceeding 10,000 pesos per annum. Laundry allowance not exceeding 300 pesos per month. Employees Achievement Awards for length of service or safety achievement, which must be in the form of a tangible personal property other than cash or gift certificate, with annual monetary value not exceeding 10,000 pesos, received by the employee under an established written plan which does not discriminate in favor of highly paid employees. Gifts given during Christmas and major anniversary celebrations not exceeding 5,000 pesos per annum. Daily meal allowance for overtime work and night graveyard shift not exceeding 25% of the basic minimum wage on a per region basis. Benefits received by an employee by virtue of a collective bargaining agreement and productivity incentive schemes provided that the total annual monetary value received from both CBA and productivity incentive schemes combined do not exceed 10,000 pesos per employee per taxable year. All other benefits given by employers which are not included in the above remuneration shall not be considered as de minimis benefits and hence shall be subject to income tax as well as withholding tax on compensation. The amount of de minimis benefits conforming to the prescribed ceiling shall not be considered in determining the 90,000 peso ceiling of other benefits excluded from gross income, provided that the excess of the de minimis benefits over their respective ceiling shall be considered as part of other benefits and the employee receiving it will be subject to tax only on the excess over the 90,000 peso ceiling. So, ibig sabihin, yung de minimis benefits, kung meron ng, ito hindi naman mandated yung isang employer, yun ay kung may ibinibigay lang yung employer. So, yung de minimis benefits, hindi natin yan isinasama doon sa 13th month pay and other benefits na 90,000, no? Yung mga yung halimbawa may na-meet niya yung ceiling, ano, hindi yun isinasama doon sa total ng 90,000 na other benefits, no? Pero kung ikaw ay kung meron ka na merong binibigay na de minimis benefits yung isang employer, halimbawa is yung uniform allowance. May threshold tayo doon na 6,000 pesos, no? So kung ang uniform allowance is umabot doon sa 7,000, since ang de minimis benefits natin is equivalent lang sa 6,000, yung 6,000 hindi talaga siya taxable, exempt siya kasi nga de minimis benefits siya. Yung 1,000, pwede mo siyang isama doon sa 13th month pay and other benefits at hindi siya magiging taxable kung hindi pa siya mag-excess doon sa 90,000 pesos na ceiling. Pero kung yung yung 13th month pay and other benefits puno na, no? Kumbaga lalagpas na doon sa 90,000. Yung 1,000 na excess na yan ay magiging taxable na. Revenue Memorandum Circular Number 46-2013, benefits under collective negotiations agreement granted to government employees, organizations duly approved, accredited by the Civil Service Commission is included in the other benefits under Section 32B-7E of the Tax Code of 1997. It is exempt from income tax and withholding tax, provided that the CNA benefits when added to the 13th month pay and other benefits shall not exceed the 90,000 threshold. So, ibig sabihin, yung CNA na nare-receive ng mga government employees, yun ay kasama doon sa 90,000 pesos and 13th month pay and other benefits. So, kung excess na siya, no, magiging taxable na rin. Steps to determine the amount of tax to be withheld. Naman kung paano mag-compute ng withholding tax, no? Step 1 is to determine the monetary and non-monetary compensation paid to an employee for the payroll period, monthly, semi-monthly, weekly, daily, as the case may be, excluding non-taxable benefits and mandatory contributions. Kasi yung pasweldo hindi naman pare-parehas yan, ano? Kaya doon sa ating withholding tax table, iba-iba rin. Kung mapapansin nyo, iba-iba rin doon. Ano? Meron tayong daily doon, weekly, saka monthly, semi-monthly. Yan. Classify taxable compensation into regular and supplementary compensation. Ito, importante yan, yung pag-classify nung regular at saka supplementary compensation. Kasi malaki ang nagiging nito dun sa pagkuha ng rate, sa applicable rate. Ano? So unahin mo muna rin yung regular compensation and then i-deduct mo yung non-taxable tulad ng halimbawa ng mga monthly contributions na yan, no? Doon kasi pag sa regular compensation minus yung monthly contributions, kung magkano kung ano yung difference doon, titingin ka na ngayon doon sa tax table to get the applicable rate. No? Pag nakuha mo na yung rate, saka mo palang idadagdag yung supplementary compensation to compute the necessary withholding tax. So kasi pagka sinamo na muna kagad yung supplementary compensation yan, mag-iiba na yung rate. Baka posibleng tumaas yung rate. No? Next, use the appropriate table in Annex E for compensation. Ito yung bago na, yung Annex E. For taxable year 2023, ito na yung gagamitin natin or ito na yung ginamit natin as per RR 11-2018. Determine the compensation range of the employee by taking into account only the total amount of taxable regular compensation income and apply the applicable tax rates prescribed thereon. Compute the withholding tax due by adding the tax predetermined in the compensation range as indicated on the column used in the rate of tax on the excess of the total compensation over the minimum of the compensation range. So ito yung ating bagong withholding tax table. Ito ay Annex E ng RR 11-2018. Year-end adjustment. On or before the calendar year and prior to the payment of the compensation for the payroll period, The employer shall determine the sum of the taxable, regular, and supplementary compensation paid to each employee for the whole year and must ensure that the tax due is equal to tax withheld. Yan yung purpose ng year-end adjustment, no? Yan, tax due is equals tax withheld. So, para maiwasan natin nga yung magkaroon ng over remittance, no? Kaya yung may babayaran pa yung isang employee. Kailan nan dapat ginagawa? On or before the end of the calendar year, prior to the payment of compensation for the last payroll period. Terminated on the day on which the last payment of the compensation is made. So, pag terminated yung employee, dapat ginagawa din yan. Hindi yung ano lang sa year end lang ano. Annualized withholding tax ito naman yung annualized withholding tax method, yan. Ito yung ating procedure, determine the taxable regular and supplementary compensation paid to the employee for the entire calendar year. Pagka sinabi nating annualized, yung ano na yung buong calendar year na, hindi na yung sa monthly. Yan. So ito yon yung ating bagong income tax table. Yan. Kung mapapansin nyo, bumaba na yung rate natin. Nag-start na ito sa 15%. 15, 20, 25, 30, and 35. Dati, 20% yan. Start sa 20% at meron pang 32%. Ito yung annualized withholding tax formula. Ito naman manirapan na lang ito yung segregation. Alin ba yung mga taxable at saka yung hindi taxable. Ayan. So what is substituted filing? An individual taxpayer will no longer have to personally file his own income tax return, BIR form number 1700, but instead the employer's annual information return on income taxes withheld per BIR form number 1604C filed will be considered as a substituted ITR of the employee. Date of effectivity nito is nung year 2001 on a voluntary basis and year 2002 mandatory na siya. Yan. Requisites for individuals qualified for substituted filing and may no longer or no need to file BR form number 1700. Receives purely compensation income regardless of the amount. So yung mga purely compensation income earner lamang, no? Compensation from only one employer in the Philippines for the calendar year. Income tax has been withheld correctly by the employer. Tax due is equals to tax withheld. Siyempre, kung may babayaran ka pa, hindi ka qualified sa substituted filing. The employee's spouse also complies with all three conditions above. And then, number 5 is, an employee is earning yung 250,000, Yan. Na yung kumikita ng 250,000, yan ay exempted din. Next, a minimum wage earner as defined in RR number 8-2018. And then, employer files the BR form number 1604C and F. The employer issues each employee BR form number 2316. So yung sinama din natin dito yung minimum wage earner at saka yung income is 250,000 and below kasi dapat ini-issuehan din natin sila lang ng 2316 at dapat kasama sila doon sa qualified sa substituted filing. Although wala tayong kinakalta sa kanila na tax, pero qualified sila doon sa substituted filing. Next, individuals not qualified for substituted filing. Ito naman yung mga hindi qualified sa substituted filing at kailangan nila mag-file ng BIR Form 1700, yung ITR ng compensation income earner. Those deriving compensation from two or more employers concurrently or successively. So kung meron kang two or more employers within the calendar year, no, concurrent man yun or successive, hindi ka na qualified for substituted filing. Those income tax of which has not been correctly withheld, and then those deriving other than business, non-professional related income, in addition to compensation income not otherwise subject to final tax. Individuals receiving purely compensation from a single employer with income tax due has been correctly withheld but whose spouse falls any of the aforesaid items under item 1, 2, and 3 kasi kailangan nilang mag-file jointly. Non-resident aliens engaged in trade or business in the Philippines deriving purely compensation income and other non-business, non-professional related income. So ito yung mga non-resident aliens engaged in trade or business in the Philippines earning purely compensation shall be treated as local employee under RMC number 116-2019. Kasi before the train law, ang mga ganitong employee, no, ay meron silang option, no, to file. Ngayon treated na sila as a local employee. Kung paano kinakaltasan at tinatax yung kanilang compensation income, eh ganun din tulad ng mga local employee. Nga lang hindi sila qualified sa substituted filing. So kailangan din nila mag-file ng kanilang BIR Form 1700. BIR form to be used in remittance of withholding tax on compensation. Siyempre, yung ating BIR Form 1601C. Kailan ang due date niyan? For January to November, on or before the 10th day of the following month. For manual filer. Pag sinabi nating manual filer, ito yung nagpa-file using EBIR forms. Ano? And then, for the month of December, on or before January 15 of the following year. For EFS filer naman, January to November is on or before the 15th day of the following month. Pero dapat sundin natin yung staggered filing, yung scheduled filing nila under RR 26-2002 wherein ito ay naka-schedule sila per industry classification. So yung filing nila naka-assign yan sa kanila kung ano yung date, ano? And then pagka naman December on the 20th. So ganito yan, pagka ikaw ay EFS filer, dapat magpa-file ka on your scheduled date. Pero yung payment mo, pwede siya na on the 15th. That is for the month of January to November. Pag December naman, yung scheduled filing mo pa rin under RR 26-2002, pero yung payment is on the 20th. Ang na-extend lang is yung payment. Ano? Pero yung filing is ang susundin nyo pa rin, schedule pa rin yun din. Kasi pagka hindi nyo nasunod yun, nagkakaroon ng penalty. Let's say nag-file and pay ka on the 15th, pero yung scheduled filing mo, dapat mas earlier pala. So pag nag-file and pay ka on the same day, on the 15th, meron ng penalty yon for late filing. Next, ang ini-issue natin na certificate, yung BIR Form 2316, July 2021 version. Ni-issue ng employer, syempre, kailan yan dapat i-issue? On or before January 31 of the succeeding calendar year or on the day of last payment of compensation if terminated. Number of copies, 3 copies. It must be signed by both the employer and the employee under the penalty of perjury. This certificate shall include a certification that the employer's filing of BR Form number 1604C shall be considered a substituted filing of the employee's income tax return. It shall be signed by both the employees and employer attesting the information stated therein has been verified is true and correct to the best of their knowledge. So kaya dapat bago nyo pirmahan, titingnan nyo muna. No? Baka mamaya mas malaki pala yung nasa 2316 ninyo. No? However, the withholding agents employers are required to retain copies of the duly signed BR form number 2316 for a period of 10 years as required under RR 11-2018. The information referring to the certification appearing at the bottom of BR form number 2316 shall not be signed by both the employer and the employee if the latter is not qualified for substituted filing. Kung makikita nyo, kung mapapansin nyo, ating 2316, dalawa yung ating pinipirmahan doon. Ano? Kung qualified, kung hindi ka qualified sa substituted filing, pwede mo hindi pirmahan. Kaya hindi mo kailangan pirmahan yung nasa bottom part. Yan. BR form number 2316 furnished by the employer to the employee shall be attached to the employee's income tax return, BR form 1700, to be filed on or before April 15 the following year. So, ina-attach yan dun sa BR form 1700 in 2316 as proof na merong kinaltas talaga dun sa iyong compensation income. Yan. If the BR form number 2316 was issued by a previous employer as a result of termination of employment and the employee has been subsequently employed within the same calendar year, the employee should submit a copy of BR form number 2316 issued by the previous employer to his present employer for consolidation with his current compensation received from the present employer. So, kung meron kang previous employment, no, within the same calendar year, kailangan magsasubmit ka ng BIR Form 2316 sa yung bagong employer. Kaya nire-require nila yan, no, ng bagong employer. Yun naman kung meron kang previous employment, ano, within the same calendar year. Pero kung wala naman, hindi mo na kailangan mag-submit ng 2316. Kasi yan nga for the purpose of consolidating yung income mo for the same calendar year. Okay? RMC number 29/2021 allows the use of electronic signature, e-signature on certain BIR forms including certificates including BIR form number 2316. So yan, yung RMC 29/2021 allowed yung e-signature. RMC number 25-2024 extends the deadline of submission of alphabetical list of employees payees from whom taxes were withheld for taxable year 2023 within 30 days from the availability of the new version of data entry module in the BAR website. So, lumabas itong na-post yung ating bagong data entry module is February 16, ano? Kaya ang naging deadline ng submission ng alpha list is actually nag-fall siya ng March 16 which is a Saturday, kaya naging siya March 18 yung deadline. RMC number 29-2024 extend the deadline for the submission of the certificate of compensation payment tax withheld, yun yung ating BR form 2316 for taxable year 2023 from February 28 to March 31. So, yung March 31, nag-fall siya ng Sunday. So, next next day, which is April 1. So, huwag niyo naman nang hintayin yung April 1. It also disallows the submission of BR form number 2316 without the signature of concerned employee, especially those who are qualified for substituted filing. Kasi meron tayong previous RMC noong 2021 na ina-allow natin yung walang signature ng employee. Kasi kaya inalaw natin yon kasi nung panahon kasi na yan, sa pandemic pa. No? So ngayon, hindi na natin tatanggapin yon yung walang signature ng employee. Lalo-lalo na kung yan nga ay qualified sa substituted filing. It also limits the documentary requirements submitting BR form number 2316. So, bukod doon sa ating scan copy ng BR form 2316 na naka-save sa DVD-R or USB, ang required na ang attachment na lang niyan is yung Annex C of RR 2-2015 at saka yung Annex F ng RR 11-2018. Okay? The requirement for deductibility, the provisions of Section 2.58.5 of RR 2-98 as amended shall apply, provided that compensation income where no income taxes were withheld pursuant to Section 2.79A of this regulation shall be allowed as deduction from an employer's gross income when the required employee's withholding statement have been issued to subject employees in accordance with Section 2.83.1 of RR 2-98 as amended, provided further that the alphabetical list of the subject employees, including MWEs, shall be submitted under BR Form number 16004C and F with alpha list of employees. So yan. So para maging deductible expense siya, kailangan maano ito ng isang employer, ma magawa niya or ma-file niya sa BIR. Okay, so with that, diyan po natatapos yung aking presentation when it comes to compensation ng employee at withholding tax on compensation. Okay? Marami pong salamat sa inyong lahat sa pakikinig at sana ay hindi kayo inantok, no? Lalo ni mga oras na ito talagang lalo na taxation pinag-uusapan ano. So, maraming salamat po at I hope na makinig kayo doon sa mga susunod pa mga speakers dahil importante po ito dahil ito yung pagpa-file naman kung kailan kayo dapat mag-file at kung ano yung dapat yung i-file na income tax returns. Maraming salamat po.